Hey y'all, this is the Life of Logos podcast. I'm Colin.
I'm Ken.
My man is dressed like an angel today.
I'm blessed.
Yes,
Highly favored.
anointed.
Almost took it out of my.
Hallelujah.
You see the little halo on the LA, the little halo on there because I'm blessed today. It is Sunday.
It is.
A day of Sabbath and rest, but also blessings, right? So, and today we're gonna talk about some blessings, but also some things that'll keep you from yours if you're not safe, if you're not cautious, if you're not aware. Some things out there.
We're talking about the 7 deadly sins right now.
We're talking about the 7 deadly sins. The 7 of them. 7 of them. The 7 that'll keep you out of heaven. Hey. Yeah. We got round. We freestyle rappers out here too, bro. We be battle rapping.
To be honest with you, I always struggle to name all 7. So I'm gonna need some help.
All right. I think we got this.
All right.
Okay.
Pride.
All for real.
Yep.
All for real.
Lust. That's one everybody loves.
True.
Wrath/anger.
Mm-hmm.
Gluttony.
Sloth.
Greed. And envy. Right. So we made it.
Sure. That was struggling. It's really sloth that like really trips me up when I do it. It's like a sloth and gluttony because like they're so under the radar and chill, like you really don't think about them like that.
Yeah.
But like everyone's like, yeah, you can't be mad like that. You can't be out there like punching people in the face. Can't be all prideful. You can't be stealing money. Can't be greedy.
Can't be a hoe.
Can't be a hoe.
I try to be a hoe.
People be hoes. Hey. Trying to be a hoe.
Hey, we all have a phase.
I didn't have a hoe phase. Never did. I was a rake though. I was out there raking. No, I'm playing.
Lie's not one of the 7 deadly sins.
I never did that. Lying is actually not a 7 deadly sin.
Lying is not. No.
It is not.
I think it's a little bit.
It's bad.
It's interesting, right? When you actually look at it, because there's a guy named Friedrich Nietzsche who's looking at the 7 deadly sins, and part of his contesting of the 7 deadly sins is that they are all parts inherently of the human experience.
Facts.
Right. So why you could simply say prohibitively, don't lie, don't kill, don't go sleep with your husband, your friend's wife. But you can't really go up to someone and be like, hey, don't go be angry. Hey, don't go be lustful. And that's kind of the contesting therein.
So essentially it's things that not necessarily that we know are bad. It's definitely stuff that we know is bad, but it's going to be essentially 7 things that you're going to wrestle with essentially your entire life, right? Like there's never going to be an instance in life where you move beyond being greedy, right? There's always going to be a certain circumstance that comes where you could be lazy, like mad lazy, like slothful, right? And like you have to like train yourself to be disciplined in the other direction. So that's interesting. That's a really interesting take. So from there though, like with all these different 7 deadly sins, right? They're all bad. They're all part of the human condition.
Right.
That sounds bleak and horrible. And like, dang, that sucks. I got these 7 things I'm gonna have to fight off my back every day. They're on me like the ops. Well, I feel like there's hope in there though, right? Like you never get like a question without an answer. You never get like one thing without a foil to it. So I would think that where you have the 7 deadly sins, you have a combatant to that.
Well, yeah, I would agree. Yeah. And I think that there's 2 different ways to kind of look at that. It's either there's also the 7 heavenly virtues.
True.
Right. And I don't see those 2 as opposition.
Okay.
Which is the kind of weirdness of the 7 heavenly virtues. Yeah. Which you couldn't pay me $1 million for me to name those right now.
I got you. Oh, for real. Okay. So
$1 million coming your way.
$1 million. Whoo. Okay. So you have chastity. Versus lust.
That makes sense.
Okay. You have temperance instead of gluttony.
Interesting that you put those 2 in opposition.
Okay. Versus pride, you have humility. Versus wrath, you have, I feel like meditation or reflectiveness. Whatever the fruit of the spirit correspondent is to that, it is what it is. It's close. Run me my money. If you gotta prorate it. It's fine. Take you about 10K off. That's okay. That's all right. What's the rest of them?
I don't know.
Sloth, wake up. No, sloth is like I would say diligence.
I say diligence.
Okay, right. So like if you're a person who's like consistently chilling, right? Or like you're back to the Greeks, right? Like you got like a dude like Odysseus who was chilling, right? And that's part of the reason why he didn't make it through the voyage. He didn't get back after the Battle of Troy. He had some things. He had some things going on, right? He had some ops.
Yeah. Oh,
but he went on an island.
True.
Same kind of fun. But after he was lustful on the island, he did.
He was faithful for 20 years. It's like a core tenet of that story.
He said for 20 years.
20 years.
Until he got on the island. And then
he didn't fall to Calypso. That's part of the reason he got back.
He was on the island.
He was on the island with Calypso.
Homer cut out the story at part of Calypso's island. It was Calypso. It was collaborating. It was Calypso.
And collaborating.
When you see him out in public next time, you're like, hey, y'all over there, Calypso.
Oh, man, shoot. I'm going to use that in the next family reunion.
Had a Calypso phase.
I'm actually going to step aside for a second and grab this phone. Let's look up what they actually are. We're going to talk a lot about the Odyssey when we get into storytelling in like an episode and a half.
We love it, man. We love it. We love the Iliad, the Odyssey, and all those Homeric tales. It's a good time. It's a good time. The 7 foils to the virtues, right? 7 virtues.
I have a reason that I don't think that they are foils.
Okay.
In a second. The Google says.
The Google.
Humility.
Yeah.
Charity.
Yeah.
Chastity.
Mm-hmm. Versus bumping. Yeah.
Kindness.
Yeah.
Temperance.
Off rip.
Patience.
Killed you.
And diligence.
Run me my check. Run me my check. My USAA number is as follows: routing and accounting. I also take checks and Venmo. I don't have Venmo. Cash App will probably do it, or Zelle will probably get you really far, to be honest with you. But
the furthest. Yep. But the reason that I don't think that these two are foil is because the 7 deadly sins are a natural part of the human experience, while the 7 heavenly virtues are not. That's something you have to work towards.
Right.
And I think the gateway between the 7 deadly sins and the 7 heavenly virtues are what I call like the 3 poles.
Okay.
Right? Love, beauty, and truth / justice /
So when you say gateways, you mean like a flow that goes back and forth, right? So it's not just one way.
I think, unfortunately, because of the human condition, it does end up being flow back and forth.
All right.
But I don't think a person goes from, sloth to diligence without some sort of an encounter with either truth, love, or beauty. I remember, I have a friend, his name is Christopher. You'd love him if you ever met him. Sharp as a tack. And he was someone who told me that there's a way to convince people of things.
Okay.
You have to convince them that when that's possible for them, that it's good, and that it's good for them.
Where does torture come in?
Oh.
Because I feel like if you just like, in jujitsu, if you just like do this, and they go, and like the air comes out a little bit, that's a good convincer,
It is.
It works, but you mean like
like
what you can do in public?
Are we
right?
talking about killing people right now?
Killing. We can't say the K word. Can we? We can say murdering, but we can't say.
That makes sense.
But like, I don't know what the algorithm picks up on.
You're right. It is. It's a form of coercion. That is true, which is another episode. You've heard of rice?
Yeah.
Man, do you know
a rose? As they say in Spanish.
Oh, I thought you were about to start singing Tank, man. No.
Not
so
today.
rice is a way of convincing people to do things, which is you appeal to their religion. Oh, you give them a reward, ideology, coercion.
Right.
Or you appeal to their ego. You convince them to want to do something. So they're both elements of the same thing. But still, we have to discuss how you go from like pride to humility.
Yeah.
And how do you do that if you haven't encountered either truth, beauty, or love?
True. And with that though, I think the truth really is kind of like the cheat code to all of them, right? So like I think if in any of those encounters, right, like if you find a truth, like a fundamental truth to something, or like you find like a bigger truth, then like that's obviously like the easiest way to go from A to B, right? So
For
like,
sure.
let's say like you're a person, you're down in addiction, and like let's say it's a lustful or greedy lifestyle that you're living, right? And somebody comes to you with the truth, like, hey, you are dying, right? Spiritually, nah. Or it could be spiritual. I don't know. Or like your physical body's dying and decaying, right? You go to like a doctor, you get a truth from them. They
Right.
say your liver's failing, right?
Yeah.
Through that truth, you're probably like, all right, well, I probably don't want to die from liver failure. I probably want to go out from something better than that.
True.
You know,
Stop drinking.
probably will stop drinking, right? So that's gonna cut that gluttony or that whatever behavior. Or if you go to a doctor and you've been like in a large amount of uh, calypso encounters.
Oh yeah.
Right. Right. You've been
island hopping.
You've been
Yeah.
You've been hopping them islands.
Hey.
You know.
Tijuana, the whole thing.
Tijuana, you've been rowing them boats. You feel me? 2 paddles in.
No, boats.
Boats, and I know the song. Anyway,
as
we were, you got your sails out, and you rowing, right? You're doing a lot of rowing, but then you get some news that like your mast is messed up. Your row stick is not able to. You can't row like you used to row. Your row is eroding.
Indeed. Your pull-out game is weak now.
Then you're gonna pull out of that situation because of that truth.
Good point. That's exactly it.
That's what's gonna happen. So you're gonna remove yourself from that to save yourself from the rest of it.
Absolutely.
Okay. So I'm with you. So beauty, truth,
and love.
Yeah.
I think, in addition to your point, because I think you nailed that. I think that's actually kind of more.
I wrote it. That's what I did. I wrote the.
Hypothetically, you're in a situation where you meet someone and you love this person.
Yeah.
But you are, island hopping.
Right.
Would you be willing, and you genuinely love this person?
Okay.
You love this person, would you be willing to give up island hopping to be with the person you love the most?
Yeah. If it's an agape, like an agape love, right? Like you got like a full, complete love and respect for a person, and like island hopping is like your lifestyle, and you're like, that's what you do.
Or also that means being a hoe for the record.
Don't be a hoe. Hey, look at me dead in my eyes right now. Hey, get right here. Hey, if you being a hoe right now, quit all that. Why are you a hoe? You ain't gotta be a hoe. There's so many things you could be. You could be a sculptor, a painter. You could have been
they're painting something.
You could have been a pianist, but meanwhile you
pianist.
I didn't think about it when it was coming out. You could have been a person who plays the piano.
You could have been a musician.
You could have been a musician. Yeah, you could have been a musician. But meanwhile, you over there blowing flutes. You could have been something else. You didn't have to do that. Okay. Okay. You could have been, you could have been a martial artist or something. You could have been a real Dragon Ball Z hero. But meanwhile, you're playing the Piccolo versus being Piccolo. But I mean, you could have been so many other things. I forgot what the point was, but point being is stop being a hoe.
Stop being a hoe. It was like, at what point, if you truly love someone with everything that you had, this would be worth giving up the promiscuous life in order to be with that one person.
Absolutely, yeah.
In that same way, that's the shift from lust to chastity,
right?
Through love. Like I think you nailed it with truth.
Yeah,
truth will save your life. It will set you free. But it will piss you off first.
True.
Right? Love's a little bit more gentle. Right? If you really love something to the point where you are willing to give up your pride and take a humble stance so that thing made you better, then that's still transitioning to the 7 heavenly virtues through that aperture of those 3 things.
If you're transformed by it, though. So, like, if you're going from like one side to the other, you have to be transformed by that thing, or else you will either be conformed by it or you will resist it.
Exactly.
Okay. So you look at it like it's your ops. If like you are in a position of like in one of those 7 deadlies, you deep in, you down bad. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You're doing all the wrong you can do to get to that island. Meanwhile, right, like there's something that's pulling you to go the opposite way, right? You're like, I shouldn't be doing that. I should be more humble. I should be more kind. I should be more fill in, right? But if that's not truly where your alignment is because you haven't transformed in that way, then you're gonna resist that leap to get over to the other side.
Absolutely.
Through truth or beauty, on the other side. So
we should address beauty.
Yeah.
This is the only one. Now, when we say beauty, we're not talking about you go see this woman and she's beautiful.
Yeah.
We're not even talking about like you're watching the sunset at the beach. Beauty, the definition that we're going to work with is all of the parts of human nature that are healing to the human soul.
Okay.
Right. So let's take that to another way. Right. This is actually a great example. Do you all remember a couple years ago? I think this was back in the Carolinas. So you might know. It's somewhere on the eastern seaboard.
All right.
Where this guy rolls up into this church. He was like, I'm gonna go kill everybody in this church. And he sits there and like is just with them for like an hour first, and then turns around and opens up.
Yeah.
Right. And that was nuts. That's nuts. Mental health. However, one of the things that he said is, I almost didn't do it because they treated me so kindly.
Yeah.
Right. And that kindness is the beauty that we're referring to.
Mm-hmm.
And then amazingly, even after those people turned around and forgave him.
They prayed for him.
How many people went from that position of wrath to a position of peace because of that beauty?
At least 6, 7 of them.
I would hope so.
At least. If I had to count them myself, at least 6, 7. Something like that.
But
I reckon. something like that.
Yo, my man. At least 6, 7 of them.
At least 6, 7.
Let's step into this Jungian idea. We talked about Carl Jung. We walked through this entire concept. And Carl Jung, in no so less words, essentially believed that every person was an amalgamation or combination of all of these spirits in their lives.
Yeah.
And I'd like to think that those 7 deadly spirits, 7 deadly sins, are also spirits.
Okay.
So there's like a spirit of wrath, there's a spirit of lust, there's a spirit of greed.
Like a physical thing, like the devil's like boom, I'm a thing, like offer up like for real, like a manifestation thing, and then like each of these is like its own thing. Or do you mean like how in the Greek way, how like there's Athena, right? And she's like, I'm wisdom and knowledge, right? And then like each of these 7 deadlies is like a personified something.
Yes, the latter.
Yeah.
So like there's a spirit of wrath that influences all of these people.
Okay.
And there's a spirit of lust. There's a spirit of this. And that when you allow those spirits to have control over your life, they ultimately destroy your life. Yeah. Conversely, the spirit of love, beauty, and truth are also spirits.
Okay.
Right? And those spirits are the conduit to the heavenly virtues. Now, how does this make sense? We tie this back in. Truth, beauty, and love are the representations of God in the Bible. So it would make sense that in living a sinful life under the power of these entities, we are able to reach a heavenly experience or heavenly person through our encounter with God.
Okay.
That should be consistent with everything we just said.
Yeah. So would you so in that you say like the 3 pillars are truth, beauty, and love.
Yes.
Would you say that they're 3 individual pillars, or would you say like they lead to one, right? Like you know how you go to Disney?
Mm-hmm.
You like very, very aware, right? But you know how you go to Disney, right?
Yeah.
And you have like the line. You're in line. You're outside. You're like, dang, it's hot. It's mad hot. I can't wait to get inside. And then you get inside.
Right.
Right. And then there's a room. And then you're like, dang, this room is cool. There's so much stuff in here. And then like you're picking up on like what the ride's about, maybe whatever backstory. And then you're marching along in line. And next thing you know, boom, you're in another room. You're like, okay, cool. Like that progresses, vibe shift, and then finally you're in the room where the ride is.
Yes.
Right. Which is the ultimate place where you wanted to be in the first place. Right. And you can see the people get on. They're hitting off on the ride or the roller coaster. Right. So would you argue that like or is your stance like these pillars are individual and they all lead to the virtues, or do you think like they're the room? So like beauty leads to love, which gets you to truth, or like truth is because like how Jesus is the light, the truth, and the way, right?
Yes.
So like maybe truth, right, is like the big door that
Mhm.
gets you in the door, and then through that you experience beauty, and then
Mhm.
from beauty, like dang, beauty is so whatever, and
Yeah.
now you feel loved ultimately, which
Mm.
is the ride that you want to end up on. And the love is the Father's love because you sent His Son, and the story, and He came back, and then His Sunday, yup. But like so I get it.
I think what you have done actually very eloquently is highlight that complexity of the trilogy,
Yeah,
right? And it is something that is it's marvelous and it's confusing and mysterious all at the same time. But in essence, yeah, this is one ride. There's different parts,
yeah,
and you might be in different parts at different times. There's gonna be times when you're in beauty. There's gonna be times when you're in love. There's gonna be times when you're in truth, and all three of those are God, and they are all of each other. And I would even say even further, they also do lead to one another,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
If you really love somebody, and we can really get into the like, there could be a whole thing about love because I think we've lost the essence of what it really means to be loving. Because loving, the act of loving is the gift for the lover, not for the beloved,
Fair.
which is stick pin in that.
Mm.
But in doing so, we are changed because we've experienced these three things.
Yeah.
Um, that was awesome.
Yeah. You know how much you gotta love Jesus and Disney to be able to combine the two?
Hey, Walt did it.
That
Walt was
dang.
he was an outspoken Christian, even though he had his faults, as we all do, but he was definitely a man of faith.
True.
We'll get into that in the next episode.
He did some things. But it's cool, we got Disney on
Oh, well, the Disney references are coming.
They coming, yeah.
We're gonna get that in the next episode. Until then, I'm Colin.
I'm Ken.
We'll talk to you next time.
Be easy.